The Hawai'i Sports Radio Network on 95.1 FM and AM 760 presents Wake Up in the Den with Ku'ule Agbayani.
Good morning, beautiful people. It's Wake Up in the Den. Ku'ule Agbayani alongside DJ Pauly B. Happy Aloha Monday. Whoa, it feels good on this Monday.
On this
What
Victory
is
Monday,
going
too?
on? Victory Monday it is. Unfortunately not for all teams, which we will talk about throughout the show, but nonetheless got what a lot of Hawaii fans had hoped for. The University of Hawaii football team coming home from Reno, Nevada with a dub. I'm making the dub, I guess the dub motion that people do when you dab it up, which you can watch on our YouTube later. So we have the cameras going. It is going to be a YouTube Monday, so you guys can watch the show later on, probably today or tomorrow. Oh, it feels good. It feels good for Paul and I to be sitting here talking to all of you beautiful people and getting excited. Also happening over the weekend, OIA football championship action. Also ILH Division 2 as well, which we will give you updates about. But we'll talk extensively about the D1, D2, and Open Division Championship. Woo woo! Lilani, that's all I'm going to say. And we'll also hear a lot of audio from some of the players and coaches because we were out last week, Friday, covering the OIA Division 1 and Division 2 championship games for you guys. So a lot to talk about on this show. And maybe if we get to a little bit of NFL and college, maybe, but we'll see. That's why we have the rest of the week and we get to chat with all of you guys throughout the week. But first, this is such a weird feeling, Paul. I must admit, I don't even know. I feel more tongue-tied than ever because I just can't believe we're talking about a victory on this Aloha Monday. Hawaii coming out on top over Nevada, 27-14, getting their first conference win of the season and first road victory under head coach Timmy Chang. So it's a lot to celebrate. Haters gonna say, oh, it's just Nevada. Hey, you take that back because nonetheless, Nevada beat two teams recently that had beat us in San Diego State and New Mexico. And a win is a win, and it was a good win. They played complimentary football. It was incredible to see. I was like, are we seeing the same team that we saw last week? I'm so ecstatic that they were able to figure it out. Fortunately, the elevation didn't seem to affect them very much. And it's like you always wait it out, right? And when you look at it by quarter, though, the first quarter, both squads, fortunately, had 0 points on the board. You know, you're looking at it like, oh, man, Hawaii didn't even score anything in the first quarter again. But they were able to shut out Nevada in the first quarter. And then in the second quarter, Hawaii putting up 17 points and still shutting out Nevada. So a complete shutout in the first half. And then, you know, trying not to get our hopes up too much. So we go into halftime and I'm over there thinking, all right, normally, as we've seen the trend this season, Hawaii has been able to play an amazing second half. Start off slow. They've had these slow starts every single game pretty much, and then come out in the second half and they just do their thing. So then I'm thinking, oh no, are we going to have a situation where we came out, had a bomb second quarter, and had a shutout of the other team in the first half? And what is our second half going to look like in this game? So not getting too excited or ahead of ourselves heading into halftime. And, you know, nonetheless, didn't put up as many points in the second half as they did in that second quarter. And they let up 14 points in that third quarter, which got a little scary. But we're able to close it out, shutting out Nevada in the fourth quarter and then putting up just, 3 points in the fourth quarter of their own. Nonetheless, coming out on top again, 27-14 for the win. and the crowd goes wild.
Whew. It's an important win for a few reasons, right? One, for us who like to joke about the over-under, it was set at 3.5, bumped up, I think, to 4 right before the season began. We're going to still set it at 3.5. Now, all of a sudden, another win puts us at that total. Just saying. Second, and on a more real note, it's a really important win because it showed a lot of guts, I think, from this team. It's the first road victory under Timmy Chang in his 1+ seasons in charge. This defense has been, how much criticism has been levied at the defense over the past month, maybe even more?
Mm-hmm.
They come out on fire on the road playing with their heads on fire. They rack up 6 sacks, a season high 6 sacks, 10 tackles for losses. They win the turnover battle for the first time all year. And really the only reason Hawaii had a turnover in the first place was the Stephen McBride muffed punt that even there, that is not something that we're used to. Stephen McBride, one of the more sure-handed people on the team, obviously, our leading receiver in a lot of categories. So it was an awesome performance there, and that's not even to mention the special teams where Matthew Shipley knocking not just one, but 2 50-yard field goal. Let me rephrase. Career-high 50-yard field goals. So I would almost argue the elevation helped him out a little bit.
And the first Hawaii kicker to make 2 50-yard field goals in a single game.
Yeah, he was awesome. The special teams was good. The offense, I know it wasn't like the 35, 42, whatever that we've, become accustomed to seeing them need to put up, but the Hawaii offense did what it needed to do. It moved the ball when it needed to. It put up points when it needed to respond. Because in that first half, you mentioned it, they go up into the locker rooms up 17-0, but then that third quarter, things start to get a little bit shaky. We see Verdell Edwards get ejected. We see Nevada finally get on the board. But once again, the Bows offense, they stay calm. They get those scores. The Bows defense helps them, put them in good position. It was good complementary football, which is something that we haven't seen from Hawaii in, over a month. And to be totally honest, I don't know if we've seen that team all season.
Oh, no, 100% no. Like we've been harping on the praises of Braden Shager and the offense. Shout out. I'm wearing a Braden Shager t-shirt today. And again, we just haven't seen much from the defense in the last few games. And that's been the real frustrating thing because we go back all the time to last season, even the beginning of this season, where they look like the most consistent and the strongest unit to come out. And then we just don't know what we were seeing the last few games. And then this season, aside from, the double unsportsmanlike penalty for Verdell Edwards, which he was ejected for that. However, he will be able to play in the next game, fortunately, against Air Force. But Hawaii, I'm just trying to relive what we saw because it was awesome to watch. I remember, tuning out halfway through when they were playing New Mexico because it was just so frustrating. But I was, engaged the entire time watching this game at Nevada because it looked pretty. For once this season, we were watching a really pretty, football game for Hawaii, that is. And it was, entertaining to watch, as it should be. As we said, hey, Hawaii, didn't just cover, but also won straight up. So that's a good thing as well. And we mentioned the turnover margin. I tweeted about it. Hawaii ranked absolutely dead last in turnover margin going into this game. And then the irony, though, a game that was happening around the same time as the Hawaii game, the team that ranked just ahead of them at the 129 spot was Air Force. Not Air Force, Army, who was playing the number 25 ranked team at the time in Air Force. And at that time, they were beating them, and they ended up finishing the game off, only allowing Air Force to score 3 points, who we play this Saturday. And we'll talk about the preview with that, and if Hawaii can use this momentum and use the way that their defense played against Nevada, against a team like Air Force, who is going to be coming into town quite hungry, and after suffering that embarrassing loss and not only, right, when the academies play each other especially, you don't want to, of all teams, you don't want to lose to the other academy team. So they're going to come here very, very hungry. But you know what? Hawaii's is just going to be as hungry. Like you said, we're right at the sweet spot of the total. So just a few more games left to go in the season. So hosting Air Force this year or this Saturday, going to Wyoming, and then hosting Colorado State to close everything out. But man, it feels good to win. Like it just, I don't,
Yeah.
It's a weird Aloha Monday feeling to not come over here and just, just try to figure out what has been going wrong. Everything just went right. I mean, I don't want to say everything. Clearly there were some, like you mentioned, the muff pine, and then I'm sure Verdell Edwards had quite a talking to after the game in terms of keeping his head cool. If you guys missed it, basically he was just talking to the other player, which Paul and I agree. I feel like
It's just
it's
very
football.
uncharacteristic for Verdell too.
Yeah.
It's football, so it was weird to see the flag. It was.
Yeah.
I think it was him going after the official makes
Yeah.
it sound worse than it was.
So basically what happened was he was talking to the other player. He got a flag for that, for unsportsmanlike. And then he turns to the referee, and usually players will be like, what? And they give him a quick, like, are you kidding me kind of thing? And then they walk away. But Verdell kind of did like this stare down of the ref and kept looking at him. Like, you guys know, if you can envision just a stare down that lasted maybe 5 seconds or more. And then, as deservedly so, he got another unsportsmanlike for that. So if you get a double unsportsmanlike, then you get ejected from the game. So as you mentioned, yeah, it was a little uncharacteristic. I think that was the highlight of what went wrong in that game in terms of just the players and individual players. Hawaii, it was surprising. And you could see after he went to the sideline, Timmy Chang, like, really kind of talking to him, holding like the front of his horse collar. Not anything like extravagant or violent looking, but you have to figure out, what in the world did you just do? He's listed as a captain. That's not something that captains do. And
It's just
so
uncharacteristic
Yeah,
for
so
him.
I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt that maybe he was going through something off the field, and it just, all those built-up emotions maybe came out. That's not an excuse to do that to an official, but I'm hoping, he realizes what he did. Fortunately, it didn't do anything that cost the team the game. But we've seen instances like that where it does and can cost your team the game. But fortunately, we didn't see that in this instance.
I think that's the difference, though, between this past weekend and most of the games beforehand. I mean, how many times have we seen Hawaii competing? They're there punch for punch, and then one or two things go wrong, and then all of a sudden it just feels like, an avalanche of bad things. This time, they didn't let the rope go. One bad thing happened. Two bad things happened. And guess what Hawaii did? They strapped their boots up, they sat down, and they took care of business. And that is something that is really encouraging, especially, like I said before, they showed some pride this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how easy it would be for a team with 2 wins who has been embarrassed on the road and at home, it doesn't matter, to just lay down? And instead they go on the road, they see, whatever, the defense gets mauled all week in the media, and then they come out and put up that performance. That takes guts, that takes gall, and I cannot sing the praises enough of the people who are there in the program, coaches and players alike, for the toughness they showed this weekend to come out and pick up a win in a season that a lot of guys could have just kind of tucked their tail and said, all right, it's over. Let's just get to the end of November.
Yeah, and kudos. I mean, I'm sure they pretty much locked themselves in the offices this week, because to be able to come out like that, I mean, even when we talk about the offense, we're giving a lot of praise to the defense, as we should. But another thing that we've been heavily criticizing throughout the season is their running attack. They just haven't been able to figure
Great
it
call
out. But they rushed for a season-high 136 yards. It marked just the second time this year that they cracked the 100 yards mark. The first and only time was 113 versus UAlbany. And as Paul mentioned, just the sacks, the season-high 6 sacks, and the last time UH had that many sacks was October 8th, 2016. At San Jose State. So a lot to be excited about when it comes to this team. I know we're already more than halfway through the season, and even if we win out, we don't we wouldn't technically officially qualify for a bowl game, but nonetheless, getting this win was huge. Shout out to head coach Timmy Chang for getting his first win on the road as head coach, and of course the rest of the coaching staff for obviously contributing to this win. And in Timmy's post game with Spectrum, he kind of talked about how he hates playing that game. You know, even when he was coaching at Nevada, where he was the tight ends and receivers coach, he hated playing against Hawaii because he has such love for Hawaii. And now this is the first time it's been switched where he's coaching for Hawaii. But Nevada very much was his home for a long time. 2 of his children were born in Reno. And so he just kind of just said that, like, I hate playing this game, but you know, somebody has to win. And unfortunately, someone has to lose. So it's a feeling that he's used to too when he was coaching at Nevada and playing Hawaii. But he was very emotional after that win, as expected. But shout out to everybody involved. But we got to step aside real quick, and we'll be back to continue our conversation about University of Hawaii football when we come back on Wake Up in the Den.
Wake Up in the Den with Kulale Agbayani on the Hawai'i Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760.
It's Wake Up in the Den, Kulale Agbayani and Paul Brecht. Happy Aloha Monday, recapping the win. Yes, the win for University of Hawaii football, 27-14 over Nevada. And it just feels so good to be in the win column. We also saw a glimpse of former St. Louis quarterback AJ Bianco quarterbacking for the Wolfpack. He finished with a net, or even rushing. He was their leading rusher, so we know that feeling all too well.
Thanks, Taylor Swift.
At least our leading rusher this time was a running back in Landon Sims, putting up 65 net yards. Braden Shager contributed 49. We saw a little bit of Najee Bryant, a.k.a. Mojo, with 14 net rushing yards. But A.J. Bianco was the rushing leader for Nevada, putting up 63 net yards. He also he went 5 for 15 for 76 yards, so not too great in the air. Our Braden Shager finished with 21 for 38 for 203 yards and 2 touchdowns with a long of 30. Sacked a couple of times, but at least Hawaii was able to counter that with 6 sacks of their own. Pafele Ashlock was the leading receiver with 87 yards, 19 yards after catch, 2 touchdowns, and a long of 26. Stephen McBride right there behind him with 52 yards, targeted 12 times, and caught 14 of them. So it's just up and down, just so good to see. Offense are obviously doing their thing. As we mentioned before the break, we're able to break that 100-yard mark of rushing. Whew.
I think that's something we need to talk about too, because we've talked a lot about how the offense has been up and down, right? How some weeks they're putting up crazy numbers, and then other weeks, I mean, we just saw them get shut out. You mentioned it. It's the rushing attack. You finally get some sort of reliable ground game going, and teams suddenly can't just key in against your passing attack all the time. They can't pin their ears back and send their rushers to go get Braden Shager. And to his credit, and you actually texted me about this, Braden Shager, I don't know what got into him, all of a sudden looking to run the football, use his legs a bit more, show off that athleticism to a point where I don't know if any of us had really given him enough credit to the point of what he can be as a runner, because I didn't think he could even do that. And
No.
Tell you what, it was good and important too, right? It wasn't that he was just running all over the place willy-nilly. It was that he was using his legs to pick up first downs, to pick up big chunk yardages and keep drives alive, keep drives going. And that was something I think that Hawaii fans have been just begging and pleading to see out of him and whoever quarterbacks the run and shoot offense. And on top of that, you see him, and the question has never been there about his arm talent. But when he adds in the running game, and Landon Sims looks good, and we've talked about it, Tylen Hines has been out all season, has felt like. Mojo not really getting his full mojo back under him. Finally, the rushing attack matches along with it. When I talk about complementary football, every facet of the game for Hawaii football this past weekend finally came together. And that's why you see a road victory. That's what it takes to win on the road in the FBS. It's that simple. You need everybody there to contribute.
I'm glad you reminded me about that. And yes, I did text Paul because, we talk about, and I feel like I just mentioned it on Friday's show. Like, I'm going to be honest. I was like, Braden, and not in a negative way. I was just being honest. Like, Braden Shaker isn't your traditional, he's not going to be this dual threat quarterback that we're used to seeing. And I joked with Paul when we started seeing Braden rush, and it seemed like a couple of them were designed that way. And then after a while, I think he just got that confidence and he started going on his own, which is like you want to see. But I texted Paul, like, I think, I'm going to tell myself that Braden listens to this show and, he wanted to prove us wrong that, like, whoa, they're going to try to tell me I'm not a dual threat quarterback. Well, you know what? I'm going to go out there and show them. So that's what we're going to tell ourselves right now. As like I said, I told you guys before, I'm wearing my Braden Shaker T-shirt that has like his logo in the front and like the Shaker in the back, which you'll see on YouTube again. But again, good to see. One thing I'm glad we did not see when I look at the final stats, because you see it as the game is going on, and I'm like, oh my goodness, we talked about the Verdell Edwards double and sportsmanlike, but then there were some, like, were quite a few penalties, and when I look at the final count for 95 yards, 10. So 10 penalties for 92 yards. So almost at that 100 mark. Hawaii has been relatively decent keeping those penalty yards down. And for Nevada's part, only 5 penalties for 35 yards. So we saw it happen a lot in the beginning of the season where Hawaii was playing really good football, but then it was the penalties that kept hurting them. So fortunately, we did not see that hurt Hawaii too much in this game. We're still able to come out with a good dub. But when you look at the final yardage for penalties, 92 yards, that is usually something that will cost you the game, as we mentioned earlier. And unsportsmanlike conduct, like how Verdell had, sometimes it can cost you the game. Fortunately, we're not sitting here talking about, oh, shoulda, coulda, woulda. If this didn't happen or if we played cleaner, we would have, we could have won. At the end of the day, a win is a win, and they came out on top. And like Paul was just talking about, hey, who knew that if we just got the running game going, the end result is a lot different.
It really is incredible how different this team looked this past weekend in the best way possible. And that's like, we've seen the hints of it before, right? The seed was there all season, but it was never all together, and they finally got it all together. Now, the hope, obviously, is that the light switch turned on, and now the rest of the season, you get to build off of that. And then next year, when you add in, I know we've spent this fall talking a ton about this recruiting class coming in for the Bows. Well, now you can integrate them in a little bit slower. That doesn't mean that they don't get any playing time or, blah, 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 blah. But also, it doesn't make it as dire straits for them to come in and be the saviors of this program. Instead, now all of a sudden, they come in and they're like, all right, this team started to really figure it out at the end of last season. How can we push us into that next level? How can we push into that bowl tier? How can we start to compete towards the top of the Mountain West? Mm-hmm. That might sound a little ambitious, I know, after one conference win. But seriously, I think this is a young team. We've talked about how young this team has been all year. They started to finally figure out what it takes to win and win in conference. Now, will they be able to do that against a very, very quality Air Force Academy squad that comes into their place this upcoming weekend? Now, that's the question that comes to hand, because once it's this old coach adage, this old coach cliche, right? Once I've seen you can do it once, I start to expect you to do it all the time, right? Well, now that we've seen Hawaii football, they're able to play that level of defense. They're able to get a running attack going. We're not asking for 200, 300. We're not asking for Air Force's rushing attack. Mm-mm. But if that's a rushing attack that can put up 100, 150 running yards a game, Braden's going to give you 200 plus through the air, just out of the amount that Hawaii throws the ball. The offense will put up points. The defense can play complementary football. Like, this is a good program. Fans talk about it. Players are there. They're starting to learn. The coaches are starting to learn. it's pretty awesome to see. And now they have 3 more games where against some quality opponents as well, where they can really prove that, hey, this wasn't just against a fellow struggling program in Nevada. This is a real thing where we're starting to figure out what it's going to take for Hawaii to be Hawaii freaking football again.
Mm-hmm. And Hawaii hosting Air Force, as we mentioned, now at least they are beatable. Only putting up 3 points, as we mentioned earlier, to Army. Army coming out on top 23-3. So they were, fortunately for Hawaii, now that Army was able to figure something out to hold back and essentially beat Air Force, giving them their first loss, Hawaii has some tape to watch on how they can hopefully successfully defend the triple option, which we haven't been able to historically do very well against Air Force, but now they are beatable. Again, Army in the turnover battle ranked at that 129 spot, just ahead of Hawaii in that turnover margin. So they figured something out. I didn't watch too much of the game either, but I'm sure the coaches, that's the first thing they're doing is, wow, Army was able to do something. They were able to figure out Air Force. This is what we got to do. Other opponents coming up for Hawaii, Wyoming came out on top over Colorado State, 24-15. Other look in the Mountain West, UNLV over New Mexico, 56-14, which happy household, because if the stars align, it will be UNLV in the SoFi Hawaii Bowl. So that will be something to look forward to for all of our Vegas fans coming over here. Utah State beating San Diego State 32-24, and then Fresno State beating Boise State 37-30. High scoring game. That looked like a lot of fun. When we come back, we will get you all caught up with what happened in high school football over the weekend and hear from some coaches and players next on Wake Up in the Den.
Wake Up in the Den with Kulale Agbayani on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760.
We fell in love as the leaves turn brown.
Welcome back to all of you, the beautifulest of all the beautiful people. It's Wake Up in the Den, Kulale Agbayani alongside Paul Brecht on Victory Monday. Oh man, feels good. Feels good to have victories. You know what else feels good? Mililani High. Shout out to all my Mililani people coming out on top and I'm so sorry. I'm sorry I ever doubted you guys, my Trojans. Mililani coming out on top to win the Open Division Football Championship, beating Kahuku, who we thought, especially myself, was unbeatable by any of the local schools here in Hawaii. Even though I know Mililani was starting to improve throughout the entire season, we had covered that first game when they played Punahou, and, they looked a little like just not put together. Well, that's why you play throughout the whole season. A shout out to Coach Rod York for getting his team ready when they need to be. But in the upset win, again, 28-21 over the Red Raiders to claim the OIA Open Division football title. And I must say, I haven't watched Keeney McMillan, at least from a TV standpoint. We covered a couple of Mililani games on the radio, so we're there in person. That kid, man, I swear he was playing at another level. I didn't realize he had so much zip on the ball. Like, the velocity of, like, the way he throws the football when I was watching it on TV, I'm like, has he always thrown like that fast? And for a lot of people who watch, or for people who watch a lot of football, you'll know what I mean. It kind of almost reminds me of like an Aaron Rodgers-esque, like Aaron Rodgers, Justin Herbert. They have like just this, like the velocity of the football. It just leaves their hand and gets to the receiver so quick. Yeah. And I saw that from Keeney McMillan yesterday, and I'm like, did he always throw the football like that? My goodness. And he was doing things on like with his legs and everything. And it was really impressive to watch. Played out of his mind. Kahuku obviously has a chance to, I guess, avenge that loss, as Kahuku and Mililani do get that automatic buy-in into the semifinal for the state tournament. Campbell was able to beat Kapolei to get that last berth into the state tournament as well. So we'll see what to expect when Kahuku's going to be playing that state tournament pretty angry.
Yeah, I expect a pretty angry Kahuku squad, but Keeney McMillan, man, you're right. With some guys, the ball just comes out of their hand different. I think that's a great way to put it. And he's a Division I prospect for a reason. He came out last night and really performed. And he did it against a nationally ranked squad in Kahuku. That's not easy. You mentioned it. I didn't mention it, but I will mention it now. I didn't have a ton of confidence that anyone was going to be able to slow down, let alone beat Kahuku. And we see this, congratulations to Mililani, who played a phenomenal game, and that's what you need to do against a really good Kahuku squad. And now they give themselves an opportunity to really compete for a state title in not an easier route, I guess, but they don't have to play Punahou again in the first round, which is big enough in itself, though a big matchup against Campbell will be upcoming for Mililani anyway. But yeah, really, really impressive. McMillan just dude's a dog. Like, he is a dog.
He's a wolf. That game he played like a wolf where he was eating dogs. But this is what Keeney McMillan had to say following that win via Spectrum OC16.
Impact player for Mililani with Jimmy.
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys. Keeney McMillan, first off, I want to ask you about this because, you had some great throwing tonight, some great passing, but your feet did so much work tonight. Why were you able to gain so many yards on the ground?
Well, first and foremost, I want to thank my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, because without him, I'm nothing. And I just want to thank these big boys behind me, man. The trenches. The trenches. They don't get the love that they deserve. I mean, they put in work day in, day out, and I'm just so grateful for these boys.
Names like Mackenzie Milton, Dylan Gabriel before you, and now you put on such a performance tonight. What does that mean to you to be in the same even breath as guys like that?
It means a lot, but like I said, without God, I'm nothing, and it's just a team effort, and without the team, there's no winning this. So I'm just so thankful.
State tournament up next. What do you guys think?
We're coming in with a lot of momentum. We just got to keep our heads straight. Stay above our feet, and yeah.
Guys, how do you feel about state?
Yeah. And excuse me, I was talking about first round bye. I forgot Open Division only has 4 teams. I was thinking of D1 and D2 where there's a little more teams. So Open Division is just straight semifinals. So number 1, Mililani goes into the state tournament, and yes, we'll host Campbell. That will be at Mililani High School on Friday, November 17th. So they got a long break, time to rest up their bodies and also get prepared for their opponents. So it'll be Mililani Campbell Friday, November 17th in one semifinal, and then it will be Kahuku versus number 2 Punahou, and that game will follow the Mililani Campbell game at Mililani High School on November 17th. So a lot to look forward to in the Open Division. I want to go to the games that we covered. However, let's start off with Division 2. I mean, that was quite the fun game to watch between Roosevelt and Kaimuki. Roosevelt coming up on top 34-22, and that was quite the entertaining game. Again, we were out there bringing you the action. You'll be able to listen to the game on demand a little later today. We'll tweet it out and let you know on social media at High Sports Radio when it is available. But we were very much entertained when we were bringing you guys the action. Ioane Kamana'o was just on fire. Had a little bit of a scare in the beginning of the game. He did go out, so we were like, oh man, it's just going to be a different ball game should they not have their main quarterback. But they did. He came back in, finished lights out. But this is what Ioane had to say following that win.
It's the championship game, you got to come out hard every play, and we just didn't execute in the first half. So we had our discussion with the coaches, and we worked and stuck to our plan. So
you took a hard hit to your head, took a hard hit to the shoulder, but you came back. What was your mindset?
Help my team win, because I know I play a great impact to this team. So whatever I can do to help really makes me the better player.
How big was that touchdown right before the half with 12 seconds to go?
It was great. That momentum really kept going throughout the game, and it helped us get the job done.
Talk about your defense, because they were lights out after you guys were trailing.
Man, we really appreciate that, because we got the offense back on the field and we could get the ball in the end zone. So I really appreciate that defense, that defensive work. Yes, sir.
Your receiver number 17, Josiah, man, big play. Talk about him.
Man, we just got that trust, we got that connection, and his fast feet got him where he needed to be.
What does it mean to just win a championship for Roosevelt? Your first
Man,
year.
this is everything, man. My brother, he was the quarterback for the past few years. He couldn't really get the job done, but I'm glad I could step into his shoes and fulfill it for Roosevelt.
I love that laugh that you let out, Paul.
That's
Ioane.
it's a little shot at the brother, but also like not a shot at the brother. It's the best way that you can say something nice about your sibling ever.
Shout out Cayman Lewis, who I know and I've seen grow up. He's one of my good friends. That's his son, or my good friends. Anyways, but it was. I did think that was kind of cute, though. He's like, oh, my brother couldn't get it done, but at least I got it done.
No, it's the most like, I love you, bro, but
I was able to
that's
do it.
me. I'm him.
But also got to give a shout out to Roosevelt's Taimane Souza Fautanu, who ended up being our you player of the game, voted on by Darnell and Kyle Galdera. But Roosevelt, man, it was a very entertaining. Again, the fact that Iomane could come back into the game was a huge deal. And also, this is what their head coach, Coach Kui, had to say following that win as well.
Coach Kui, how does it feel to get the second one for Roosevelt in 4 or 5 years?
It feels good. It feels good, man. Kids. I'm so proud of the kids. They work real hard. The whole way through our whole season, and our coaches. I'm happy. Just a preparation that's been going in every week with the kids. They work hard. Yeah.
Were you worried when your QB looks like he got hit pretty hard? He had to leave for a little while there.
I was, but Ioane, he's a tough kid. He doesn't want to lose. He doesn't want to get off the field. He wants to stay on the field. And we knew he was going to come back, and sure enough, he's going to force himself to get back on the field. Yeah.
Let's talk about wearing him down once again. Like you said, you were going to go with multiple looks, but you just decided to go with the hurry up. Our coach, they're prepared. We have a big package too, and he was going to go with that. Our duck offense, he was going to go with that too. But I guess our kids didn't want to. They wanted to stay with our, run and shoot offense. And like I said, they knew what they had to do. The preparation went in the whole week. Was just being on the same page with Ioane, and just us making those plays. Yeah, that tempo, that favors your team. You feel this is the really fast go real quick.
Yeah, we need to go fast. We need to move fast. Yeah, that's our offense. Yeah, our MO.
So the defense had 2 turnovers, which led to score. So let's talk about the defense today, which played pretty well.
Well, the defense worked hard this week, man. We knew they were going to come with their big package, and a lot of the work went into that this week with the coaches. So hat goes off to Coach John and our defensive coaches, man. They really work hard.
What's your outlook heading to the state tournament now, and how you feel about where you might go and what you might do?
Yeah, right now I don't even know where we're going to go. I don't know what bracket we're going. So, the next game, it's going to be tougher. So the kids know, it's not done yet. Yeah.
How motivated do you think you guys are going to be, heading into that first matchup, no matter who it's against? Yeah,
like I said, we got a lot of young ones, and our youth. These guys, they're fighters, they're warriors, and they're not going to give up. Like I said, these sophomores, they're winners, and they're going to bring it. Yeah.
Yeah, like you mentioned. Ioane. He really looks the part for just being a sophomore. How far do you envision them taking it as a quarterback?
Again, like we said, it's up to them. These kids, and they control our destiny, and our journey. So, like I said, Ioane and our sophomores, it's just going to be how far they're going to take this team. Yeah.
And that was Roosevelt head coach Kui Kaho'oili Hala. And as he mentioned, obviously, yes, you're not paying attention to where you're going to end up following that huge win that Roosevelt had over Kaimuki to claim the OIA Division II title, coming up on top over 34-22 again over the Bulldogs of Kaimuki. But where they end up, they are slotted as the number 4 seed headed into the first Hawaiian Bank Football State Championships, and they will take on Kamehameha Schools Hawaii. That game will be at Roosevelt High School on this Friday, in the first round, so they do not get that first round bye. On the other game for the first round will be number 3 seed Pac-5 and Kaimuki, so at least Kaimuki gets another opportunity getting the first round bye into the semifinals will be the number 1 seed in Waimea. They will host Roosevelt or Kamehameha Schools Hawai'i at Hanapepe Stadium on Saturday, November 18th. And also on November 18th, Kamehameha Schools Maui will host the winner of Pac-5 and Kaimuki in the semifinal. When we come back, we will talk about the OIA Division 1 championship game and hear from head coach Bryson Carvalho next on Wake Up in the Den.
Back to more Wake Up in the Den with Ku'ule Agbayani on the Hawai'i Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760.
It's another fiery afternoon, so hot, hotter than the month of June.
So hot. You know what's so hot? Winning! Woo! It was the weekend. It was Ku'ule Agbayani's weekend when it comes to high school football. Yes, sir. As we mentioned earlier, Mililani upsetting Kahuku Saturday to claim the OIA Open Division title. And another game that we covered for you here on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network on Friday, Waipahu coming out on top over Farrington, 48-26. Shout out 94 block. And claiming going back-to-back, winning the Division 1 football title. A lot of, oh my goodness, it was just an exciting day on Friday. But first, before we talk a little bit about the game, here is what Waipahu head coach Bryson Carvalho had to say.
I mean, that's why we work from February, March, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just super proud of the kids. The expectations from the get-go is super high. And a lot of stuff in the media about guys transferring. The thing is, they still have to, mesh together. They still have to, do a lot to be able to be successful. You got different cultures they came from, you know what I mean? So they have to kind of learn our way. It wasn't as easy as it seemed, you know what I mean? I mean, we struggled early in the season. We took our bumps, but at the end of the day, if you look at any D1 team in the OIA, I think we played the toughest schedule. We played 5 open teams. I think we're battle-tested. That's what I kept telling them this week. They executed. They played a hell of a game. I think our defense, with that goal line stance at the end there in the fourth quarter, that was really huge, and we were able to pick up a score after that too. So, that was really big. But I can't be more proud of our kids, our community, our staff. They just worked their butts off to get to this. So.
Yeah, heading into states, how much do you think the message will be about finishing the job this year?
Oh, big time. I mean, we've been spotted at every Outer Island game the last 3 weeks. We've done our job to make sure we prepare once we get to states, and now that this game is done, now we can actually kind of get the ball rolling and, start to kind of implement our game plan wherever we play.
How is it like having a weapon like Preston out there?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, so he's been injured. He came off his injury, so, he's only 2 games back. But I knew that, we were going to have him back for the most important part of our season, which is now. And he just secures almost one whole side of the line for us. So that's real big. And then just having weapons like Jaden, Eric, Ty, and then Tyga, who had an amazing fourth quarter for us to kind of seal the deal and be able to run the football. So, we just have a good bunch of guys, kids, coaches, our faculty, our principal, our AD. I mean, it's a team effort. Everybody sees the outcome, which is like on the field, but it's behind the scenes. It's our team moms that feed our kids every Thursday night before a game and, are there for halftime. It's everything, you know what I mean? Like what everybody loves about Waipahu is the culture, and you don't build culture without, everybody, around you. So, hats off to everybody involved.
And again, that was Waipahu football head coach Bryson Carvalho. And following their team, huge win, 48-26 over the Farrington Governors. Jaden Chanel caught 4 passes for 123 yards and 2 first-quarter touchdowns to aid in Waipahu's win. And he was awarded the Yeah You Player of the Game by Kyle Galdera and Darnell Arsenal on our broadcast. Yeah You is the newest brand for sports apparel and accessories. Check them out on Instagram at YAUHNL. That's YEAH, the letter U, HNL. Yeah You, let's get it. And Waipahu going into the state tournament, they do have that first round bye going in as the number 2 seed. Number 1 seed goes to defending champs Konawaina in the first round of the First Hawaiian Bank State Championships in Division 1. Number 4 seed is Lahaina Luna, and they will host number 5 seed Kapa'a. That game will be this Saturday. And in the other first round game, it'll be number 3 Damien, who upset Iolani and got to get that ILH, that single ILH berth into the state tournament. They will host Farrington. That game will be at 7 o'clock p.m. at Kaiser High School. Again, that's this Saturday, November 11th. And in the semifinals, as we mentioned, number 1, Konawaina will get the winner between Lahaina Luna and Kapa'a. And then Waipahu will play the winner of Damien or potentially a rematch in Farrington in the state championship semifinals. And it'll be interesting. I mean, this is going to be, I don't even know, because Farrington was very much in it. It was an entertaining game to watch, and we'll see what happens. That's why they play the game. So we're kind of excited to see this whole state tournament unfold throughout the month of November. And the state championship games will be that second to the last weekend. That weekend of Thanksgiving basically is the weekend that we'll have the state tournament. And haven't seen anything officially official yet, but all accounts are pointing that the open division will be held at TC Chang, so that'll be fun.
That is also what I had been hearing, so I hope that's true, because it would be really, really fun, especially if we do end up getting a rematch of last night's game between Mililani and Kahuku at TC Chang. That'll be interesting to see the attendance if that does end up being the case. But no, that Waipahu Farrington game, the final score a little bit misleading. Yeah. You know, obviously 3-score difference at the end of the day, but you take into account pick 6 towards the end of the game. You take into account having to try and do a little bit of something that Farrington is not necessarily comfortable doing, and throwing the ball way more and not relying on Mikaele there, the Division I prospect of a running back who is just an absolute house, who even he had a slower day by his standards and still ended up with just under 100 yards rushing and a touchdown for the Govs. So I expect to see him and Farrington come out with some passion, with a little extra energy after this loss, because like I said, I don't think it was necessarily a 20-plus point game difference, but they certainly were outclassed on Friday night.
Just not able to close it out. Yeah, because you're right. When you look at the actual breakdown per quarter, I mean, Waipahu was only up by 7 going into the half, so we had a very, very competitive game. Completely scoreless in the third quarter, and then Waipahu putting up 21 points in the fourth quarter, 15 unanswered. So
that's what Waipahu's offense does.
Yeah, that's pretty much determined the game. And again, Jaden Chanel just balling out, to his credit, getting the player of the game.
It's really one of my favorite sponsorships that we get, or sponsorships, whatever. It's one of the favorite things. Going to be a lot of fun to continue giving that out this year. But no, as soon as Chanel had his first quarter, I was like, oh yeah, he's going to be tonight's player of the game, because it just felt every time he touched the ball, it was a chance for them to score. I think he only had 4 receptions, and 2 of them he found pay dirt on. So, I mean, I'll take a 50% scoring chance every time I throw my top receiver the ball. And they have a couple of top receivers. Want to give a shout out to Eric Stevens as well, who,
yes.
I mean, what a dynamic performance, not just offensively, also had an interception, I believe. He had a really big punt return that set up the Marauders deep inside Farrington territory for a score. So just a bunch of really dynamic players for Waipahu as they enter the state tournament.
Yeah, and I did ask Coach Bryson about that, having Preston Taumua that came back from injury a couple of games ago. One of their main, and he said it too, he's like, he pretty much took care of one side of the line for them, but you add him into a laundry list of exciting players that Waipahu has. As you mentioned, Eric Stevens has really been this like uber consistent player on both sides of the ball for Waipahu, and now you just add in one more element and they look good. They came out against Farrington, but again, to Farrington's credit, they're pretty stacked as well. That's where you also have Lafaele over there, and Nelu, another D1 guy that's going. So there's a lot. That's why the state tournament is going to be really exciting. Speaking of state tournaments, myself and Olivia Austin will be out to bring you cheerleading.
Whoa!
So, yeah.
Let's go.
And that's why I'm bringing Olivia along, because she was a competitive cheerleader, so she will help me understand everything that is going on. So be sure to follow us on Instagram at High Sports Radio. We'll bring you some behind-the-scenes stuff as we were out there at the Simplify Arena at Stan Sheriff Center. So I'm really excited.
That's gonna be fun.
I'm excited because I'm going with someone that knows what they're talking about. This almost feels like how I would bring my girlfriends to football games, and I'm like having to explain. Now it's going to be reversed. Olivia has to explain to me about cheerleading. And today also starts the girls volleyball state tournament. So there's going to be a lot to talk about, folks, but we got to go. So for Paul Brecht, I'm Ku'ule Agbayani. Mahalo for listening. It's been Wake Up in the Den. Bye!